Okay, this is Trophy Gold, Hearteater's Hall. I want to start by having all of us introduce ourselves. And for people watching the video, this is actually a continuation of the same group that did the Death Ziggurat in my playlist. So if you want to see the beginning of these character stories, go watch the Death Ziggurat episodes. Those were pretty great. But let's introduce ourselves again. So when I call on you, say your name, your pronouns, anything else you'd like for us to know about you, that would be awesome. I'll start. My name is Jason. I use he, him. I am the founder of the Gauntlet gaming community, and I'm the publisher of Trophy Gold, though not the adventure we're playing today. That's by Jelly Muppet. Let's go to Blaine.
Hey, I'm Blaine. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the host of You Are Not Alone, which is a 1v1 horror actual play podcast where I sit down with a guest each episode and try to design a horror game around their personal fears so I can hopefully terrify them in a good way.
Fabulous, thank you. Merwin.
My name is Merwin. I use he, him. I've been gaming for several decades now, and I've got a few games of both Trophy Dark and Trophy Gold under my belt, and I'm looking forward to today's session.
Awesome, thank you. And Adrian.
Hi, my name is Adrian, he, him pronouns. I play Triss the Quick-Footed, and I'm looking forward to getting back to this character and getting back to Trophy Gold.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to go through my procedure called CATS. CATS is an acronym that stands for Concept, Aim, Tone, and Subject Matter. I do CATS in order to establish some basic expectations for what we're going to be doing today, and indeed for the rest of the series, which is scheduled for 3 sessions, by the way. Concept of Trophy Gold to start. Trophy Gold is a very rules-light fantasy adventure game. It embraces an atmosphere of desperation. These characters are going into the lost and forgotten places of the world in order to find treasure, in order to fund some sort of very expensive goal or drive that they have. But they're also always perilously close to sort of being fated to die destitute. And so part of what you're doing whenever you go on these adventures, which we call incursions, is you're trying to acquire enough gold just to meet your burdens so that your character can continue to be an ongoing concern. It is probably a little darker than some other like standard fantasy games, though certainly not as dark as some stuff that's out there. And yeah, and it's a story game. It has the sort of trappings of an OSR or a traditional role-playing game, but mechanically it is a story game. This adventure we're playing is called Hearteater's Hall. I don't want to say too much about it, except it is published by, I believe it's Soul Muppet Publishing, if I'm not mistaken. That is correct. And we'll have a link to that in the show notes if you want to go check it out. I've made a lot of changes to it, but it's a pretty small kind of open-ended incursion or adventure, so I think it sort of wants to be tinkered with a little bit. The aim, after I'm done with my spiel here, we are going to reintroduce the characters, and then we're going to dive right into it. So I am doing like a sort of kind of, we're going to have a couple of like scenes that are sort of leading up to Hearteater's Hall, and then we'll kind of get into Hearteater's Hall proper. That might be towards like the back end of the session. And then after we're done with that today, we'll do little stars and wishes feedback to set us up for next time. The tone of the game is going to be adventurous, mysterious, dark. I think those are the good tones we're working with. In terms of subject matter, I'm going to flag just a few things for you. You may have guessed from the name of the adventure that cannibalism is a thing that could possibly come up in this adventure. It's not guaranteed to, but it could. Ritual sacrifice, particularly of animals, is something that could come up in this adventure. Not pet animals though, like gamey animals, like deer and stuff like that. And then just a general sort of depiction of like derangement and madness is also kind of something we're going to be doing. In terms of safety tools, we are going to have 3 safety tools available. The first is the open door policy. You are welcome to leave for whatever reason, whenever you wish. The second thing we're going to be doing is the X card. If something happens that you find objectionable, really for any reason, you can say X card or type it in the chat, and we will stop and address whatever it was. And then we're going to be doing lines and veils. Lines are things that we are absolutely not going to have in the story. And then veils are things that we're okay with being in the story, but we just prefer not to role play it. I'm going to say my lines and veils, and then I'm going to wait 30 seconds to give you all a chance to either say your lines and veils right now or to message me on Discord so I can convey it to the group. So I will wait. Well, I shouldn't say mine. Lines. I don't want to do sexual violence, no sexual violence. I never do that in my games, so we're not going to start right now. And then for veils, I'm going to put torture behind a veil. And when I say torture, I mean like someone like tied down and being physically harmed in order to get them to do something. Not really like psychological torture as much as physical torture is what I'm putting a veil behind. I'm okay with it being a thing. I just don't want to role play that. Those are mine. I will now wait to give you all a chance to speak up. Okay, all right, yep, we're all set. Okay, with all that said, let's reintroduce the characters, both for our own benefit and for viewers of the video. I'm going to go in order of the sheet. So Adrian, tell us what we know about Triss the Quick-Footed.
Triss the Quick-Footed is a degenerate libertine, or at least that's what he was before he became an desperate seeker for riches. He used to be a dancer, and he really wants to establish an inn at the Valenti Crossroads. We learned at the end of the last incursion that he is living in a back room of the Dread Dragon Inn in a little village next to a large mountain, and that is also where he spends most of his time, sometimes maybe performing, also stashing his money in a harpsichord that he sometimes plays there. And it seems that his money, his gold has run out, so he's up to risk his life again.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Blaine, tell us about Nima the Bloodletter, please.
So Nima she grew up as a farmer, and her father's farm contracted a plague of some sort and was run into the ground, at which point she joined a monastery and became a nun who, up until our Hearthfire session last time, fancied herself a surgeon while having no surgery skills whatsoever. In fact, just really having skills based around breaking things. She lives in a small cell in the monastery just outside of the town where Vanek and Triss live, and she has taken on the life of an adventurer to try to get her father out of debt with Bright Teeth Assyrio, and all of the excess money that Nima acquires adventuring goes to paying the inordinate amounts of interest that Bright Teeth Assyrio has put on her father's debt.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And Merwin, please tell us about Vanek.
Vanek the Sullen is a very grumpy fellow, mostly because nothing ever seems to go right for him, and even when it does, he'll find something wrong with it. He turns out at the end of our last harrowing excursion When we got back, it turned out that he was a bit of a family man. He's actually married. He's got a small household under the wing of Lord Cadrone. And his primary drive at the moment is to reclaim a lost family title of nobility. And by way of doing that, he's trying to get the funds together for recovering a relic from a shipwreck. But that's going to be a long, arduous task because that's not a cheap endeavor. So that's where we're at with him.
Fantastic, thank you. A couple of rules things before we get started, just to sort of refresh you all on. First thing, the way Trophy Gold works is I will be presenting set goals to you. These are frequently contain out-of-character information. They are also things that sometimes they're things your characters do want to accomplish, but sometimes they're things that like we want to accomplish as players just because we think it would be fun to do. Set goals can be accomplished by cashing in 3 hunt roll tokens collectively, or you can just solve the set goal because you did the right action in the game that solves it. In terms of the hunt roll tokens, another thing to be aware of, in addition to spending them in order to accomplish set goals, you can spend them 1 for 1 to find the treasures that you need to meet your burdens. Your characters must satisfy their burdens in gold or treasure equal to that amount of gold before this ends or before they go back home. Otherwise, they are retired from play if they do not. So be mindful of that. Sort of knowing when to spend your hunt roll tokens is a key part of the game, as you will probably remember from last time. And one other thing to be aware of in terms of the rules is the effect of the sort of devil's bargain and other ways that players have some authorial control over the story. You will frequently be asked to, say what could go wrong here, or offer a devil's bargain, so that this player can get a bonus die, right? These are things that you'll be suggesting as players. They may happen, they may not happen, but they are all just sort of input that we can kind of use to help kind of build the story we want to build, right? And so just be mindful that you'll be frequently called upon to sort of think of things, and don't be too scared to like go really big in terms of like the outcomes, right? Like if you get asked for a suggestion or if you make a devil's bargain, it can be a big thing. If I think it's too big, I'll rein you in. It's better to rein you in than not. So just be mindful of that as well. And with those things said, let's get going. Now, Vanek, the Sullen, I assume you are on fairly good speaking terms with Lord Cadrone, yes?
Yes.
Good. Lord Cadrone, who has occasion to be at the royal court from time to time, has come back to you and your companions, by association, with a job. The job is this: a royal court wizard named, well, I've already forgotten the name, Quoton. I shall type that for you. A royal court wizard named Quoton has gone missing. The king's spies and informers and scouts, they have managed to pin down the last place he was seen, and they're now looking for someone who can kind of go investigate what might have happened to Quoton, someone who is maybe not a part of the royal court or connected to the crown in any way, in case it's one of those kinds of situations that require a lighter touch or a little bit of like subterfuge. And So yeah, Lord Kudron brought this opportunity to you. It pays well. If you just find out what happened to Quoton, you will receive enough gold equal to 3, basically 1 gold for each of you. If you bring back some physical evidence of what happened to Quoton, you each get 2 gold worth of silver. And if you can find Quoton himself and bring Quoton back, you get 3 gold each. So finding Quoton especially would put you pretty far along in your burdens, right? And of course, there's probably going to be other opportunities to gain treasure and things in your explorations. And so I'm not asking if you accept this job. We're assuming you accepted the job. And so you are on the road to an inn at a crossroads, actually, Triss, called the Sunset Crossroad Inn. We'll talk about that later. But Quoton was last seen at the Sunset Crossroad Inn. And so you've been on the road for a couple days, making your way to this Crossroads Inn, hoping to find out what happened to Quoton. That's it. And I think I'm going to just start off, just kind of get right into it here. In order to reach the inn, you have to cross a bridge that goes over the Great Torin River. And the Great Torin River is incredibly wide and a pain in the ass to cross if you're not crossing on a bridge. The problem here, as you approach, and I think when you approach, it's already fairly late, probably the sun's down. The problem is that a bandit camp has been set up at the bridge. You'll see them in the distance. You maybe even heard rumors about them on the way. You see their campfire. You see tents. You see other signs of life. You hear voices. And they're at the bridge. And so you either are going to have to sneak past them, walk right through them, treat with them, or go the long way around and cross the river some other way. Those are your options, basically. I think I just want to like pick up the scene with the 3 of you, maybe like laying in the tall grass, having spied out the camp, the bandit camp, and let's just have that scene, role play as you wish, and if you take some actions that are actionable, we'll roll dice. So, role play.
Ugh. Trouble just...
Yeah. Trouble's never far away. At least these guys here look less dead than the last ones.
It's true. They are not howling to some unknown demon lord.
That's true. I think they probably just want our money, but I still have no intention of giving it to them. So we should find a way around.
I have enough bandits back home to deal with. I don't need to give money to every group we come across. Do we want to try and we've had luck in the past with distraction and sneaking around once the distraction has been set.
That's true. I'm willing to distract them, to have you guys find a way across.
I'm not a big fan of trying to swim through current, but I don't see another way through this predicament at the moment if we want to avoid the bandits.
Here I have a set goal for you. It is not to simply get past the bandits. Set goal is locate the bandits' secret treasure stash.
That certainly adds a new dynamic to this.
You can even, in character, you can probably even surmise they have treasure stash somewhere, right?
Yeah. So I have an idea. What about instead of us giving them money, we just take all of theirs?
I do have many debts. And if these bandits have been shaking down every person that needs to cross this bridge, they may have quite a bit for us to make away with.
It doesn't sound like a bad idea as long as we keep our heads while doing it.
I think we need to find out a little bit more about how strong this group actually is, whether we're actually able to take them on, or if we're only able to maybe take on one or two of them at a time.
So
I think I'm. If you want me to sneak a little closer, to try to take a closer look, if I can find out a little bit more, I'm willing to do that.
Okay. Can we tell how many people are in this camp? Roughly, dozens, hundreds.
Yeah, Hunt will give it to you. Absolutely. It sounded like that's what Triss was going to do, but if you're asking the question, Vanek, I'm happy to give you a hunt roll. So.
I'll leave that to Triss if it takes a hunt roll. Adrian pinged that first, so let's go with him.
Well, Triss, hunt roll with. You said you have a sneaking skill or something like that, or evasion.
Evasion, yes.
I'm into that. So we have the die roller. If you just go to the dice part of the Trophy Discord and do hunt 2.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I encounter something terrible.
Okay. And no tokens either. So give me the scene for a little bit. Tell me what you're kind of doing. How are you scoping this out?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm just well, so I think Triss tries to go a little way around, not really straight at that camp, but really trying to, because that's where the bridge is, right? So that's probably where they're watching. So I think Triss will try to kind of come from the side so that he can have kind of a side look at the bridge and at that camp. Yeah, maybe even gets out of sight of the other two, loses sight of them, and then maybe the camp for a bit, and maybe that's a little too far into the woods or whatever.
Indeed. And you do encounter something terrible. Near the camp, not right next to the camp, but fairly close by, you see a pair of graves, perhaps recently dug, with wooden markers in them and little mounds of dirt. And a little sign, a little simple sign has been kind of like fastened into the earth in front of these graves. And it says, "Beware diseased corpses." Perhaps someone died, perhaps one of the bandits died, perhaps the bandits are diseased in some way. There's all kinds of possibilities here. What do you do?
So the camp is on this side of the river. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then there's the bridge, but basically to get to the bridge, we have to go through the camp. Okay.
Yeah, in some way, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Triss, by going around and then maybe a little bit away from the camp. That's probably where this burial site is. And I think Triss thinks that this might maybe be something that Nima might know more about. So he will leave these graves be for now.
Nima is a plagued farmer, and or was a plagued farmer, and is a bloodletter. So yeah.
So I think yeah, no, I don't think Triss wants to mess with these graves. So I think if that is basically, I mean, I imagine it's kind of like a clearing, so it's hard to get just past them. So I think for the moment, Triss is just going to go back to the others. Yeah.
Relay what you saw.
Yes. So
I'll also tell you, you did get close enough to the camp. Even though your hunt will, you get a token, you can still learn things. And you saw about half a dozen people. If you were to try to just bum rush them and fight them, it would be endurance 10. So not an impossible fight, but not easy, but not impossible.
Okay.
So back at your little scouting location then.
So it's about 6 or 7 people. Maybe they were more before, but they're fresh graves. Some kind of disease might have felled a few of them recently. I didn't touch it. I think, Nima, that's more your area of expertise. So maybe if we wait long enough, they will just all. I don't think we have that kind of time.
Yes, depending on the disease, it could take quite some time. Although that is unnerving about what we may find in the camp or potentially at the crossroads once we pass the bridge. If there are diseased bodies about, who knows what plague may have gained hold over this land.
Well, if the bandits are afraid of diseased people, perhaps we can masquerade as them as well. And that would be a way to strike, at the very least, strike fear into them. Whether that fear results, they may attack us on sight for that, but they may run.
That's something that sounds promising. I mean, maybe that is something that they want to avoid, especially with these fresh graves next to their camp. So maybe they will let us pass if we do a convincing show of being the carriers of some kind of plague.
We don't
a question
even
for
have
Nima.
to carry it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. We don't even have to have the plague. We may be able to strike fear that there are a group of plague-ridden behind us, and we need to escape this area as quickly as possible. And if we do that, in the chaos, we may be able to make way with their whatever they have, whatever treasure they have.
That's true. If we just ran into the camp in terror, it is perhaps a way to even just separate them out and perhaps make fighting them easier if they catch on our ruse.
I have a question for you. I have a question for you, Nima. So you have this background, which is plagued farmer, yeah?
Yes.
I want to know more about that. Like, what does that mean? Like, what happened to you?
So I think that And this was years ago now. I think maybe Nemo was probably only maybe 13 or 14 when she had to leave the farm. But I think maybe it was, I like the idea that the plague eventually hit our plants, but it started out, I think, maybe as a human plague. And it ties in, I think, well with this little hook that we just got, that maybe the village started burying bodies of the plague victims.
I'm going to stop you right there. I think you would know, based off your background, culturally, it would be unusual to bury the bodies.
Okay.
What would be more typical would be to burn them. That's true of this whole region.
Okay. So maybe when the bodies were burned, the ashes got into the water and poisoned the plants for a number of farms. Ours, my father's farm, I think, was hit the hardest, and pretty much all of our crops came up this kind of just like gray color, and were inedible. And that happened for a few years in a row, to a point where all of our savings, we ran through them all within a few years, in the farm. My father had to start taking out more and more debt with people to keep the farm running.
Fantastic. It would probably stick out to you as weird that the bandits didn't burn the bodies if it was their people. So, sorry, continue the scene.
So do we want, I mean, if we wanted to look plagued ourselves, my knowledge of surgery maybe might be able to help me use some makeup to make us look plagued and gross. Otherwise, we could try just running in as if we are being chased by plague carriers. I think either of those work really well.
Did Nima basically say out loud were we discussing the plague ridden and how typically bodies are burned and not buried?
Yeah, I would bring that up. I think when Triss initially told us that the bodies were buried, if Nima knew that that's an unusual practice in this area, I think she would have brought that up.
Because Vanek has a furrowed brow at this point, and he says, we should probably be careful, but maybe we should dig the bodies up, because if it is common knowledge to burn the bodies, then what's buried in the graves?
That's a good question. And if it is bodies, if we have a way of moving them without touching them, we might be able to use that as some way to quickly evacuate the camp.
That's not what I'm thinking.
But I agree. I think that there's potentially something else
Valuable.
there.
I think something valuable, that something we can earn our passage with as ransom, or simply to take a detour.
So, how are you feeling about that, Triss? I mean, you were there. You saw the graves.
I'm going to follow, if that is the plan. I think that's something that the two of you are better at determining whether this is too much of a risk to us. But if that's the plan, I will be part of it.
I think it is potentially worth the risk.
So I think we could probably resolve this with a risk roll. It was your idea, Vanek, so I think maybe you should take the roll with a help die if needed from one of your companions. What do you think about, I mean, I assume your approach is just to sort of kind of sneak in there and quietly dig up the bodies, right? Not like super loudly or anything. Yeah, okay. In that case, as players, Adrian, Blaine, what do we think could go wrong here in this scene if they're digging up shallow graves near the bandit camp? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, we know that this is haunted land, so maybe one of them turns out not to be quite dead at all.
I like that idea as well. I think it could be as simple as, I'm going to keep it fairly simple. I think maybe somebody from the camp just sees you, right, and raises the alarm. So.
Yeah, I think that's the most obvious one. I don't want to be the reason that Vanek gets diseased 2 games in a row. But my first thought is that the bodies are in there and they are in fact very diseased. And it's a disease that maybe is more than just, maybe it's airborne and not just like touching the bodies.
Yeah, for sure. So Vanek, you get 1 light die if you have a relevant skill or piece of equipment, and or if you're using the environment in some way. I'll remind you that you have 2 open equipment slots right now as well. So.
I have a pickaxe. It might be good to get through the initial crust if it's not soft enough.
No, that's perfect.
That should definitely help.
So we'll take that as your first light die. Devil's Bargains. Devil's Bargains, to remind you, are things that we all offer. If you take one of them, you get an extra light die for your risk roll. But whatever it is a thing that happens no matter what, whether you succeed or fail. So it's up to Adrian, myself, and Blade to make those offers. And if you don't have one, that's fine too, but I'm thinking.
I think maybe, I mean, we've already used the bandits as one of our things that could go wrong, but I think maybe something in the woods hears us and comes to investigate.
Yeah, I like that, like an animal or something. I'm going to say my offer is, no matter what, one of the bandits, perhaps a bandit who spied you, is following you for the remainder of the adventure until they catch up. So.
Well, no matter what, there is a barking dog at the camp.
Oh, God.
Interesting. So you've got 3 choices there. What do you think? You can reject them as well.
So I've got barking dog, problem from the woods, or followed by a bandit.
Yeah.
Let's do the followed by a bandit one. That one seems interesting. I usually don't take ongoing type effects, but that one seems interesting.
You've got 2 light dice. I'm not going to make you roll a dark die yet. I don't think you're yet risking mind or body, but you could be very soon. Go ahead and roll risk 2 on the die roller.
Okay.
I will throw out 2 that Nima is more than willing to. Nima does not need to help with that roll.
Yeah, no, the roll is totally sufficient. 6 light. Doesn't get any better than that. Give me the scene right up into the point before you start digging, basically, and like getting everybody there quietly and all that stuff, using your tools to start the digging.
Okay. Vanek has dropped his backpack off to the side so he can maneuver a little bit better as he has to dig up the dirt. And he's positioned, or he's asked Nima to keep an eye on the woods, and for Triss to keep an eye on the bandit camp to make sure that we have lookouts He can take care of the initial digging, and if he gets tired, we'll swap out. And he'll sort of mark off an area around the graves for where to remove dirt to as he pulls it out of the actual grave sites. And then he'll lay in with the pickaxe and start scraping at the surface to soften it.
Indeed. This is all going very well. You can hear the bandits. The bandits are, they're a little ways away. You can hear them. They're starting up a drinking song, so they're clearly haven't noticed you, and that's all going well. There might be one that noticed you, but we won't talk about them yet. You managed to get to the earth, the sort of packed earth pretty easily. You discover that these graves are quite shallow, in fact, and that's because there are no bodies in them. They are, in fact, this is the secret treasure stash of the bandit camp. So set goal complete. Between the two graves, here's what you find. There is a roll of silver daggers, like a cloth roll with daggers stuck in it. These silver daggers, there are 4 total. Collectively, they're worth 2 gold. So that's one thing. There is a sack of silver that is worth 1 gold in game terms. And there's also, so I think the silver daggers, sort of the sack of silver was in one grave, and the silver daggers were in the other grave. And along with those silver daggers, there's a fairly unusual thing that maybe it might take you a moment to figure out what it is. But after cursory inspection, you'll discover that it's an invitation to the king's court, addressed to a one Lady Holston. And it appears to be from the king himself. This invitation it's in a little scroll tube. And if you unfurl it, it says something along the lines of, "It's been too long, Lady Holston. I miss you. I miss having you at court. I kindly request you grace us with your radiance and your beautiful viola playing again." Now, maybe the bandits took this off someone. Could be a connection to Quoton, because Quoton was from the royal court as well. But in any case, those are the things you find. Make some decisions about who's getting what in terms of the gold and the treasure and stuff. You can split it all up evenly if you wish. 2 people can take 2 daggers, and 1 person can take the sack of silver. So.
I think that it makes sense probably to give at least some of the daggers to Triss. Hopefully we will sell them. But that seems like something that in a pinch could also be put to better use.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't need to hold any of it. I'm already holding way too much in terms of things that could be lost. So,
all right, then I will hold on to the sack of silver, and we can figure. I'll note that we found that together, so we can kind of make sure that we're divvying that stuff up.
Okay.
Pretty evenly.
We still have to figure out how to get past these guys, but
that is still a concern. Yeah. You're no closer to that. So, Triss, what do you think?
Well, it seems that they might not be as afraid of disease as we thought. So,
yes, although it does sound like they're getting drunk.
That's right.
If we let them carouse a bit more, it may put us in an advantageous position to either sneak by them or disable them.
It looks and sounds like they're having quite a bit of fun. I'd love to have a drink myself, but that's not why we're here for. So, well, maybe we should just wait until they sleep after getting drunk the whole evening, and then in the early morning, just sneak by.
I think that's a good plan, even if they leave one or two awake to keep an eye on things. They will likely be easier to distract and get by.
And they'll be
Yes.
addled by drink either way. So that's agreed. I think is a good plan.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I know quite a bit about festivities, so let me. I'll stay out here and listen to their singing and drinking, and I think I'll be able to tell when they
Where they really hit a
fall
point.
asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People like, we're getting to be at that point in the night. Got it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at one point the carousing skill has to come into play. So.
No, I love it. It's a great use of the carousing skill, actually. I'm very into it. We'll do a risk roll. The risk roll, the stakes will be to get you all past the bandit camp. We'll handle it all in one roll. What could go wrong, Merwin or Blaine?
I feel like getting to know Triss the way that we have gotten to know Triss, that perhaps in the waiting to find the perfect moment to carouse, Triss might give in and try to join them.
At least, I think at least Triss could kind of take his own flask of alcohol out and have a drink as well, and miss the right moment.
Miss the opportunity, yeah.
Just make sure you're not carrying the daggers when you get caught.
Yeah, exactly. leave those behind. Merwin, any ideas on what could go wrong here?
Well, if we're gonna make it through no matter what, if we succeed, this is just risks, right? We're not on the.
This is like if it fails, like if it goes.
If it fails.
Yeah, the die roll fails. What's the worst that could happen, basically?
The worst that could happen is if they have a campfire, the bridge burns.
Oh, nice. That'd be horrible, but I love it. That's good. What a tragedy that would be. I'm gonna say. I kind of like Blaine's idea from earlier with when you were like scratching around the graves. Maybe on the other side of the bridge, there's like some wild animal that was also drawn to the area, and so you have to deal with them. So, okay, that could be a good devil's bargain as well. I might hold on to that. We'll see. Any case, let's take a look at your dice. Okay, carousing, awesome. You're getting one light die there. What devil's bargains? I'm going to offer my thing as a devil's bargain. No matter what, on the other side, there's a bear.
On the other side of the bridge?
On the other side of the bridge. Yeah.
Okay. Any others?
The guy that was watching us, that's a terrible devil's bargain. Devil's bargain has to happen no matter what. So,
whether it succeeds or fails, yep.
Yeah. Can part of the devil's bargain be that in the chaos we lose something valuable from the guy that's been tracking us? So can we use up part of a devil's bargain that was previously made?
Oh, what do you mean? Like no matter what like say it in a statement. Like what
So no matter what, the guy that was following us will abscond with something valuable to us. So either treasure that we got,
that's a perfectly fine. Yeah,
treasure we already had.
Absolutely. Yeah. Painful. I'd take the bear personally, rather than give up my precious treasure. But the treasure's a safer thing, to be clear.
Yeah.
Blaine,
Yeah,
other
I really
barbers?
like those two. I don't think I have something that I think works better than either of those.
All right, loss of treasure or loss of life, potentially. Those are your choices, Tris.
Mm,
Or neither.
um, are we risking mind or body yet?
Not right away.
Not
no.
really, right?
Not right away. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna stick with out the devil's bargain. Just one light.
All right, risk one. Roll it up.
All right, that was a good choice.
Yeah, that's a good
Well, there
choice.
we
Yeah,
go.
6 life. Doesn't get any better than that. That's a great risk. It was a good, smart risk. Describe getting everybody safe and clear past the bandit camp. What does it look like?
So the others maybe take a bit of a break, kind of trying, maybe not really sleeping, or maybe they even are at least resting somewhere. And Triss really is listening, kind of sitting somewhere a little off from the camp, but where the firelight is kind of visible, and listening to the sounds, the increasing sounds of singing, and it's kind of a rowdy atmosphere. And with time, the singing becomes more of a kind of mixture of all different kind of voices, not melodic anymore. He kind of looks at his own flask, kind of bored a bit, but sticks to the plan. Maybe it plays around with the silver dagger a bit, kind of tracing patterns in the ground. And then when basically the fire is dying down, there's no sounds anymore apart from maybe the loud snoring of one of the bandits. That's when he walks over to Nima and Vanek and tells them, like, I think they're all slumbering. It's time for us to make it across. I think they didn't even put up any guards. So.
Or maybe they did and they just didn't make it throughout the morning. They just fell asleep.
Exactly. So I think the bridge is ours to cross. I think we've done all here that we came to do. We took their treasure, and now we're going past them and onwards.
As you get past the camp, everybody is passed out as you anticipated. It's probably very early in the morning at this point, maybe around like 4 or 5 in the morning. Like the sun's not quite risen yet, but there's a sort of a tinge of pink, kind of in the sky. And as we see you all move past the camp and make your way to the bridge, I think the camera of our television show, say, swings back to the camp, and we see one young bandit just open their eye and turn, looking at all of you walking off, and they quietly get up and creep after you, keeping some distance, but they're coming after you and following. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and continue. A couple of hours later, you reach the Sunset Crossroad Inn, and perhaps ironically, it's almost sunrise when you get there. It's about 7 o'clock, somewhere around there. The sun is just kind of starting to sort of creep over the horizon. The inn is the last place Quotan was seen. It is a decent sized structure. There's a stable. The building itself is a sort of 2-story affair. The bottom story is a tavern, and then the upper floor is where the rooms are. There's probably about 4 rooms, say. And in terms of like around it, there's not much more. I mean, it's just a Crossroads Inn. I mean, it's just for people coming and going, you know. A question for Triss to answer whenever you're ready. You have the drive of wanting to establish your own inn at the Volante Crossroads. I'm curious, as you sort of maybe step into the Sunset Crossroad Inn, what about this place is not at all how you would do it? Like what is not up to your standard, your vision for what a Crossroads Inn should be like?
I think the Sunset Crossroads Inn is something of a ambitious undertaking or snobby undertaking. They only serve wine.
Interesting.
No beer, no spirits.
Yeah.
I have another question because I was carousing during the hearth fire last time, and maybe this might be an interesting place that Triss might have heard something about, some information.
Oh, interesting. Oh, do I owe you some information from Carouse from last time?
I think so. Yes, and I think maybe the Sunset Crossroad Inn might be an interesting place where Triss might have heard something about or know someone at, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I can help you out there. Let me think on it for a minute then.
Mm-hmm.
So they only serve wine. They're a bougie
Yes.
kind of crossroad. Maybe that's why Quoton wanted to stop there, right? Because he's used to the royal court, right? Great. I'm not going to just presume that everybody walks in. I'm going to go around the table and find out what everyone's doing right now. So I will start with you though, Triss. Triss, what's your kind of approach here? There are stables as well. So
I think Triss looks to the others and says, I think I'm really in the mood for some really hearty breakfast. I think this is the best place where we might find a thing like that in these parts. So we should take advantage of it. Well, I'm actually not sure whether for breakfast they also serve water, but we're about to find out.
They serve like goat's milk or something, right? Lamb's milk.
I was gonna say if they only serve wine, I don't know how hearty of a breakfast you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm imagining a lot of avocado toast.
Well, yeah. So I mean, swinging over to Vanek and Nima here. Are you all cool with that? Are we good to just going in, or is there something else you want to do?
Yeah, I think I'm fine going in and getting breakfast first before we start kind of poking around. It's probably a good idea to get a little bit more of a lay of the land.
Yeah.
I figure Vanek's more than a little stressed by the recent encounter, so he's probably gonna hit the privy before he goes in to fill up.
Fair enough. That's out back. So no set goals in the privy. Down in the tavern area, the sort of the first floor of the inn. I'll tell you what you see in a moment. I will tell you right now, though, that there is a set goal for the lower part of the inn. That is, type it for you. Learn the tragic tale of Lady Holston. What you see when you first walk in, there is an innkeeper who greets you. He's kind of wiping down a bar. You can see behind him what would normally be great big barrels of ale on tap are in fact caskets of wine behind him. The main sort of like dining area is not super populated right now. There is an old man in the corner who is smoking a pipe. There are a couple of young people, travelers maybe, or workers of some sort, who are enjoying their breakfast at another table. And there is some sort of like bard, or what's the other word for a bard? The one that doesn't have magical D&D connotations. Minstrel, some sort of like minstrel or bard over like by the fire, which is just kind of starting to get going, by the way. The fire's not quite roaring yet. Sitting by the fire, tuning up his stringed instrumental lyre, perhaps. And yeah, so let's just, even then, before we pick up the scene, paint the scene question for everyone, kind of piggybacking off what Tris told us about this place. What do you each see, apart from the wine, that is evidence that this place has an air of pretension about it, like they're trying too hard, or they're trying to make it some more than it is, right? More than just a simple inn at the crossroads. Think about it. Whoever has an idea, say so.
They don't have candles on the tables. They have candles in candle holders on the table, so the wax doesn't drip on the table.
Nice.
I think that like one of their special draws for breakfast is they have like an oatmeal station where there's like a cauldron of oats that they've been stewing, but then there's like a little table with a bunch of like berries and honey
Toppings.
and like and that kind of like you make it yourself thing that like what Crossroads Inn would have. Like, no, you're just gonna get a random bowl of food and you're gonna like it. But this is a full oatmeal station.
It's absurd. I love it.
Walking in, basically behind the door, there's a red velvet curtain that you have to walk through.
Nice. The innkeeper says, he's a sort of middle-aged man, balding, a little heavy set maybe. He says, welcome, good sirs, to the Sunset Crossroads Inn. Can I interest you in breakfast? Or perhaps something a little more spirited, if you know what I mean?
I think we are here for sustenance. So please, we'll sit down over here, I guess, and we'll see what you have on offer.
Yes, of course. And he says, please feel free to make yourself a bowl of oats from the table over there. And I'll be along shortly to give you a rundown of our offerings. And you go and have a seat at your table. What are the other two of you doing?
Bandit mutters under his breath, horses eat oats. And he'll go throw himself into a chair.
I think that Nima, living in a monastery, is used to pretty plain breakfasts. So I think she's actually really excited by this idea of like oatmeal is what she usually had, like a boiled oat is what she usually has. But this idea of being able to spruce it up is sort of this odd luxury.
Apple slices and honey and stuff, right? That's crazy.
So I think that she's going to go kind of have a field day with making herself a bowl of oats and then retire over to the table.
I think the the bard, who is a young fellow dressed in kind of ridiculous, like sort of bard style dress, like poofy kind of velvet sleeves, a jaunty cap, that kind of thing, right? Imagine Dandelion in Witcher, right? That kind of character. He says, he's still kind of tuning his instrument. He says, "Can I interest you in a song?"
Of course, good fellow. This is the kind of luxury that we had not expected for this day. We've had some grim travel behind us, and we are more than happy to listen to a song.
Well, that's why they called it the Sunset Inn, because you let your worries set like the sun in anticipation of a new day, new warm rays of light to light the way, just like this song I'm going to play for you right now. And he begins playing his instrument, and his voice is okay. It's 6 out of 10. And he's singing some tale about weary travelers finding hospitality and excellent fare at the Sunset Crossroads Inn. The old man with the pipe just sort of like seems to visibly roll his eyes, and let's continue the scene.
I think Triss will walk over to the old man after getting a first helping of breakfast and say, "Good sir, we are here looking for someone. Maybe you might have seen him, and I think I might have gotten myself a silver coin, one of the coins from Nima, and kind of slipping it on the table towards the guy with the pipe. And name's Quoton."
I like that as a hunt roll. Since you're using the silver that you found, do 2 dice on the hunt roll.
Better.
Nice. Take your token. The old man takes a pull on his pipe, does a weird thing with his mouth, like he's trying to make the smoke blow out a certain shape, but it's just a sort of vague, streamy circle thing. But he makes a good effort at it. And he says, "Quotum. No, that doesn't strike a bell, the name at least. I see people more than I hear their names. If you could describe him, perhaps I could help you out more."
Well, probably some kind of long beard. I'm not sure. I didn't really
standard royal court wizard stuff. Yeah,
exactly. I didn't really get a good look at him myself, but that's what the people told me that sent me looking for him.
Long beard. Well, that is a lot to go on.
He might have. We're suspecting that he stopped by here because he's of higher standing and might have enjoyed exactly the kind of place that you are running or that the innkeeper is running here.
So he was a fancy fellow then.
Fancy fellow.
We don't get too many fancy fellows here, despite what Bartholomew would have it be. That's the innkeeper. He's always complaining about the clientele. We're not good enough for him, as it turns out. And he kind of rambles on a bit. He might tell you, he might know something, he might not. We'll get there in a minute. He'll get there in his own time. I'm going to cut over to Vanek. Vanek, what are you doing right now?
Waiting for the menu, or what passes for a menu.
Bartholomew comes back and he says, well, I have, this morning, we have fresh eggs prepared in any manner you wish. We have venison sausage from deer that grazed in proximity to the king's hunting grounds. We have, he's kind of going on at some length about the various things.
And Vanek is just getting more and more agitated. It's like, just bring me a meal when it's done talking.
Yes, of course. I'll surprise you.
I haven't eaten anything decent in 2 days, so make it worthwhile.
I will indeed. That's what we specialize here at the Sunset Crossroads Inn, making it worth your while. And you, ma'am?
I will have, I suppose, the eggs over easy and some sausage.
I don't know what that means, but yes, I shall endeavor to make it very easy for you.
Excellent.
They will go over very easy, trust me. Yes. And
I don't know if I trust you, but I will take them.
He goes to prepare your food. So what do you do after that?
I think that Nima's gonna listen to the bard's songs for a little bit and kind of try to get a feel to see like what kind of subject matter
okay.
The minstrel trades in the most. Like, are they mostly like court songs? Are they mostly adventuring songs?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good, I like that. Take a hunt roll, why not?
All right. I don't think I have anything that's really going to help.
Yeah, one die never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have any tokens. So.
It's true. All right. 5's not bad.
Take your token and you encounter something terrible. Yeah. Let me come back to that. The food eventually comes. It's not bad. It's a 6 out of 10, probably. And Bartholomew wishes you a bon appetit, or whatever the equivalent would be in our world here, and then goes back to the bar. The two young fellows who are eating by themselves, or kind of eating at one of the tables, they finish up, and they love it. They order another round of food and drink. Bartholomew is delighted by this. The bard is going on at some length about, well, spends quite a bit of time in the Sunset Crossroads Inn. One gets the impression that's his job here. But if pressed, he will sing other songs. He's the sort of bard that likes to follow around the great and fabulous and sing their tales, you know. So he's going through Sir such and such knight and the great general Lord such and such, and singing of their tales and whatnot. That's all well and good. The old man with the pipe says, you know, if your friend was here, and if he had rooms here, and if he went missing suddenly, well, Bartholomew would have kept all of his things. If he was paid up, his room would still be there. Bartholomew would not have rented it out. If he just left, if he wasn't staying, if he was just passing through, well, that's tougher.
That is a helpful. That's some helpful information. I think I think I will go and ask the innkeeper if there is someone holding a room, having paid up. He would have had the gold certainly to do so.
I will tell you as you approach the bar, you'll notice that behind the innkeeper, near the floor, on the floor, there's a hatch, like a trapdoor. Nothing unusual about that, except the information that you learned during Hearthfire when you were carousing is that this structure does have a basement, and that allegedly in that basement there are all sorts of things going on down there. You heard different things. Some people say it's smuggling operation, right? There's goods down there. Some people say it's there are criminals who use that space to hide. Some people suggested that there are maybe even like unusual, untoward, blasphemous religious rites going on down in the basement. Who knows? Any one of those things probably could be true, or maybe none of them. But in any case, it's what you learned. Bartholomew says, "Can I help you?"
Yes. The food and wine was most excellent.
Good.
We.
Some people say it's a 9, occasionally even a 10 out of 10.
Some people know what their real quality tastes like. I think, friend.
Yes.
So I have a question, friend. We might stick around for a bit. It does not seem that there's any better place around here for quite some time. So let's talk about this in a bit. But say we are looking for a friend of ours, fancy fellow, a long beard. Was there a person like this that stayed here in the last time?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm not sure about Longbeard, but I did overhear a little bit of your conversation earlier, and well, we did have a fellow who claimed to be a member of the court. Staying here. We were very, very delighted to have him, of course, and we rolled out the red carpet, metaphorically speaking. I don't have a red carpet. I'd like to get a red carpet, though.
You should definitely.
Carpet? And we did. He did stay here. He did stay here for a night, just a night, and then he went on his way. Although I couldn't say where to.
So he rented a room here.
He did. Yes, that very one is available if you want it.
I think that would be. I mean, if it was good enough for that fellow of high stature, I think it will be good enough for me. So
yes, well,
I would like to stay there.
All of the rooms would be good enough for anyone, really. Not to impugn your personal dignity in any way, but come this way. What about your friends? Would you all be needing a room or two?
I don't think I'll need 2 rooms. There's just one of me.
I don't know if we all need separate rooms. That seems wanton.
Well, we'll come up, take a look, and you can make a decision then.
Yes.
And
though there would be no better place for wanton than this one, I think.
Indeed.
I suppose that's true.
He'll take you up. The upper floor of the inn has its own set goal. The set goal is, let me find it somewhere on here. Gain vital information about Quotan's whereabouts. So there you go. He takes you to the room, and it's clean. The bed is reasonably soft. The pillows are above average as far as that goes. Nothing seems to be particularly out of place, and at a glance, there's no sign of anybody who stayed in here. There's a wardrobe, there's a small desk, there's a footlocker at the end of the bed. All in all, I'd rate it about a 6 out of 10, really. What do you all do?
I think Triss definitely wants to stay here in this room for the night. Is there one big bed, or what is the situation like?
It is a bed that is I think like 2 people could probably sleep in it. There's a you could probably get you some blankets or something if somebody wanted to sleep on the floor. It's early in the day though. You don't really need to like go to sleep. But yeah,
no,
it's
for
like
sure.
really
But
Hey, Triss, did you already talk with Bartholomew here about Quotan?
well, I mean, did your contact give you any more information about his looks? I think these people here might be would be helpful if we could describe him a bit more. There might have been more than one fancy fellow passing through here.
That's true. I let them know he's. I assume we have some freedom to describe here, Jason.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, he's. I'll say he's definitely man of tradition. So he's kept hold of that long beard that he's expected to have, but he's a little rotund and not quite as quick of foot as you would expect. Someone who should keep up with a much faster pace of the court. But
Bartholomew says, I believe he is the very one. The things you're saying, they match up pretty well. Like I said, he just left. He stayed the night and left, and I was happy to have him, such a distinguished guest, but I can't say I chatted with the man very much.
Did you happen to overhear him say where he might be headed?
No. I don't normally listen to patrons' conversations, except just now earlier. But in general, it's not something I do.
Sure.
Of course not. He wasn't traveling with anyone, was he? Perhaps well-appointed lady?
It's funny you should say. Yeah, he was indeed traveling with someone, and it was a bit of a controversy, let me tell you. A bit of a controversy. Truly.
Do say, friend.
He had a bird with him. Can you imagine such a thing? Some sort of peregrine, falcon, hawk, eagle, bird, vicious claws and beak. Sitting on his shoulder, very well trained. I mean, just very calm.
So did he get into your oats, or is that?
No. But I think, some of the other guests were, a little beside themselves the whole time because, we've had guests who've wanted to bring in their mangy old dogs or their wretched old cats or other animals, and I won't have it because this is not that kind of establishment. But I did allow this gentleman to keep his bird, and, well, it was a bit of a controversy with the locals. That's all I'm saying. The regulars were very unhappy. They thought I was playing favorites, and, well, he's from the royal court. What is it supposed to do? Got to keep your bird out in the stable? It's absurd. Birds don't stay in stables.
Is that a thing that we know about? Like, is that a thing that Khotan is known for, or that like court wizards are known for?
This is not something that matches up any information you have so far. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked. That really wasn't what I was asking. I was asking whether he was traveling with any other people, but did this bird happen to have a name while you're at it?
Oh, yes, it did. He did say the bird's name several times, both referring to the bird and speaking directly to the bird, which I thought was rather strange. I can't quite remember. It had lots of letters. I'm thinking Falgalix, or Galfalix. Something like that. I shall type those things for you.
It does certainly sound like a name that a wizard would give to a bird.
Well,
Did he have, is this the room that he stayed in?
Oh, the very one.
Well,
Yes, I think this would be a lovely room to stay for the evening, and we can go about any business we may need to before night falls.
yes, I think this should be a day of rest and merrymaking, and let's see if this bard has any more interesting songs and tales to tell. So just a question: the surroundings of this inn, is it basically? I mean, is this a crossroads and there's not much around,
There's
or
nothing
just the
around.
woods, or
Yeah,
there's basically nothing.
It's just wilderness and road. Yeah, like the whole purpose of this is just to serve people coming through. Although, having said that, you would have learned from talking to the man with the pipe that he's local. He has a little like kind of farm thing or whatever nearby. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Triss definitely wants to stay and maybe during the night check out that basement. But for now, I think we might. I mean, I think Triss definitely will be just walking around a bit, but really just this seems to be a relaxing day. Good food, music, and so on. Maybe the stables are interesting to take a look at to see whether there are any interesting animals. Maybe no birds, but maybe some others in the stables. But just walking around.
Yeah, I like that. I'll let you have a hunt roll, and because you're just spending the day sort of like in leisure, if you have a ruin, you can remove it. But I think you might actually. I don't know.
I think I have one
From last time, yeah.
More than
I'll let you drop that down one.
All right.
I like it. It's good. Take a hunt roll, and we'll come back to it later. But just take the hunt roll for now.
I mean, I wonder whether this is, but it's not really carousing. I would say it's just relaxing at this point. So.
This is just for like this sort of roaming around the
Exactly.
countryside. Yeah.
Yes. So okay, this is
Wow.
going well.
This is going to be so bad for us later.
Take your token. You don't notice anything of import. It's a nice, relaxing day. You got your hunt roll token, but otherwise you don't learn anything about like the situation or anything. So it's just,
Maybe a gold coin that was stuck somewhere between the somewhere between the a bench outside. Somewhere. Okay.
Vanek, how are you spending the day?
I'm gonna spend probably won't take the whole day, but I want to satisfy myself. I mean, no matter how well somebody cleans, there's always some corner, that a rat could get into, or hunt for food or whatnot. So I'm looking for evidence that this really was the room that uh, uh, a man with a bird would have been in, because the bird will leave feathers or droppings or things like that. So I'm looking for that kind of evidence. And then once I confirm that, I'm going to start searching for anything that might give us a clue as to where he's gone next. If he dropped something or scribbled something or left some memento of a place that he expects to go to.
Yeah, of
that
course.
kind of thing.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're just sort of like combing the room, basically, right? Is that the idea here?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Take a hunt roll. If you can implicate a skill or piece of equipment, you can take 2 dice.
So I have layers, if that helps.
Oh yeah, that's
But
good.
I don't know if it does.
Yeah, it's good.
2.
Take your token. You will notice something. It's not ideal. This is maybe the terrible aspect, but you do find something. You look out the window. The room, I mean, there's no like immediate evidence of like a bird or anything like that. It could have just been cleaned up, or it was a very well-behaved bird that didn't just shit wherever, but you look out the window and you actually see, so I think there's like a tree that kind of goes up along the side of the building, or kind of rises up alongside the building, or grows there. And there's a branch, a pretty high up branch. You might be able to climb out the window and precariously get to it. It'd be a little dangerous, but you could do it. But you see a piece of paper stuck within like a fork of branches, like kind of just being held there. And the piece of paper is clearly scratched and torn, like someone grabbed it out of someone's hand and like took off with it or something, right? Like it's beat up a little bit, or it could just be from the tree branch. But in any case, it looks a little torn up. But that's the only thing that looks promising as far as what, something that might be interesting, a clue of some sort. What do you do?
Well, I'm not a bird, so trying to climb a tree branch like that is not real thrilling to me. I like it better on the ground. But help is always useful. I'll see if
Triss might be able to help you there.
Nima or Triss. Triss, I trust a little bit more with something like this, but I'll point it out to Nima as well. Hey, just keep your eye on that so the wind doesn't blow it away. I'm going to see if I can find Triss.
Let me cut over to Nima, though. I do want to give Nima a chance to say what you're doing during this time, this sort of day off, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, when Vanek finds me, I'm happy to help in any way I can. But I think Nima wants to kind of go over that invitation we found again, to just pick up what information she can about this lady Holston, and then I think she wants to like hang out in the tavern and listen to the bard, or the minstrel. And obviously the ideal would be that he mentions her directly.
Sure.
But trying to see if maybe he sings some songs about the king's court or something, because it sounds like she at least is tangentially related.
It's not totally out of his wheelhouse. I mean, I think a lot of his songs have to do with great people, and certainly somebody who had the king's ear at one point might have been a great person. I mean, you can make the ask for sure.
Yeah,
right?
so I think when a song comes up, that's kind of a natural kind of segue. She'll go up to him and talk to him a little bit more about that.
He'll say, can tell you've really been enjoying my playing.
It is. It's good. It's nice to hear music.
Thank you.
I live in a monastery, and we do not have much in the way of song.
I like to think I'm a solid 8 out of 10 when it comes to endeavors in music and singing.
You could certainly say that.
So, do you have a request? I know all the popular songs.
Yes, I was just in the travels that my companions and I have done in the last few days. We've heard, those situations in life where you hear a name and then weirdly, surreptitiously, you continue to hear it. We've heard mention of a lady Holston recently, multiple times, and I don't know anything about this lady, and I was wondering, a bard of your great knowledge and performance life might know.
Well, it's a sad tale, and I'm not normally one for the maudlin or for that sort of tone. Certainly, Bartholomew doesn't love it when I play things that aren't, cheery. I don't have a song about her, but I do know her story very well. Most everyone around here does.
Well, certainly if you don't have a song about her, I don't want to interrupt your playing, but if at some point you could tell me this tale.
I'm happy to share it. I mean, it's, Lady Holston, Lady Theodora Holston, was a musician like me. In fact, she played the viola, and she has a bit of a reputation going back some years for people who follow such things as being a very fantastic musician. She was, in her day, she was the star at court. I mean, I myself am far too young to remember this, but they say in her day that she played so beautifully and was herself so beautiful that she captured the whole court's imagination. Even the king himself was quite enamored with her. But times change, beauty fades, one's hands become less nimble for playing music, mind you. And, well, when the king and court withdrew their rapturous gaze, she didn't handle it very well. She retreated out to these lands. She has a great big manor house not far from here. And she's there, and they say she just lives out her days, reenacting her glory days at court. She has a couple of mad or senile servants who sort of look after her. I've heard she's quite mad herself. And that's really it. It's kind of sad, really.
Yeah, that is a truly heartbreaking tale. You said her manor house is nearby?
Oh, it is, yeah. It's not far at all, in fact. Maybe 5-10 miles north of here.
Well, thank you for that tale. How long ago, do you know how long ago she settled here?
Oh, gosh, years and years ago. I mean, certainly before I was born, probably before you were born. That's not a dig at your age by any means. She's, it's a story as old as time. You're young and beautiful, and you're the apple of everyone's eye, and everyone thinks you're great. And then, people move on to new things. And
it is true. We tend not to have the attention to retain everyone, at least. It is a shame. Well, thank you for sharing that tale with me. That is certainly
for-
something to think on.
Thank you for lavishing me with compliments about my music earlier.
You can certainly say that. I will not keep you from your songs anymore. I'm sure all of these people want to hear more.
3 people, yeah. Good. Okay, so let's go back to Vanek and Triss and this precarious piece of paper up in the tree branches. What are we doing here?
Well, if Vanek alerted Triss of this, I
that's
think,
by the way, that's set goal
yeah.
accomplished in the lower level, by the way. So.
Yeah. I think then Triss might try to, after getting bored walking around, I think climbing a tree is exactly what he is looking for.
Indeed. I'm not going to make you roll because you do have the acrobatic skill. That's enough to just give you the freebie of climbing the tree and getting the paper, no trouble. The piece of paper is scratched up quite a bit. It does, these look like intentional tears. The piece of paper is a letter that says, you basically piece together what it says. I heard you were here. I heard that you were staying at the inn, and I would certainly love to have you. Please come by at your earliest convenience. And it's signed Theodora.
Well,
it's unclear who it's addressed to.
I guess we might, after finding this, meet up with Nima, who has listened to the sad tale of Lady Holston, and identify Theodora as Lady Holston, and then sit outside maybe I don't know if now we are already at the point where the sun is setting on the Sunset Crossroad Inn, but definitely
it's probably getting
that.
pretty close. Yeah. In fact, it's probably time for we can kind of, if nobody else has anything to do, we can fast forward to the evening meal. I think that'll be fine.
So I think we are talking about, well, it seems that, I mean, if this letter was addressed to our friend, our missing friend, Quoten, then Lady Holston might know a little bit more about his whereabouts.
Yeah, it certainly seems too coincidental that multiple people that might know Lady Holston would be in this inn relatively recently. I mean, if that paper were more than a week or so old, it would have blown away or been destroyed by the weather.
Sorry, so what were the, could you remind me what the circumstances were around Lady Holston leaving the court?
Just that she was no longer the star of the show and no longer beloved, particularly by the king. She basically was, her time was up, and so she receded to her private estate out in the country, basically.
Huh.
So it doesn't sound, it sounds like it is perhaps an hour or so travel at most to her.
It's not far at all. No. Yeah.
To her manor. Or I guess it would be more like 2 or 3 hours.
If we have horses.
If you have horses, it'd be very fast. Yeah.
So perhaps in the morning we could go visit.
Agreed. I think so. That letter you have in your possession, is it dated?
No, it's not. But it is. It's a little unclear probably when it was written based off its condition. It may not have been in that tree forever. The circumstances that got into the tree haven't really been revealed yet. I think you're all pretty well. I mean, I think it's probably fairly safe to say that you would satisfy the upper level set goal by saying, yes, most likely he went to go
Oh,
with Lady Holston. And in fact, that could have been his invitation from the king, right? The bandits had, for all we know, right? So, yeah.
right. My question was about the letter that the bandits had, whether that
Oh,
was
that
the
one.
statement.
Yeah. Yes, that actually was. Thank you. That was a great question. Yes, the timing coincides with when Quoten was supposed to have been in these lands. So, yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like even though she wasn't, and Vanek is just sort of sounding all this out. It sounds as if even though Lady Holston fell out of favor with the court some time ago, she's wanted back very recently. So if we show up on her doorstep, this could actually be a very good way of putting us in favor with her to gain information about Quoten.
Are we thinking that basically, so this was an invitation that the king basically invites Lady Holston to the court.
Wants her back
right?
in court. Yeah.
Yeah, back at court, which seems that it never got to her.
Correct.
For some reason. So we should be delivering this wonderful news to the good lady.
Yes, it certainly gives us a reason to be at her door.
You know, I mean, I think we are at the evening meal, right? So basically just talking.
Oh, yes, the evening meal. By the way, Bartholomew says, "Now, friends, I have something very, very special for you tonight." He says, "Now, I have made a wonderful stew." And he sort of sets down these hot bowls of stew. And they do indeed smell very good. Really, really good, actually. 8 out of 10, easy. The stew it looks velvety and thick. It's red. He will say, "Now, this is something of a specialty in this region, and so you may not have it where you're from. But the broth is made with bone marrow and blood." Now, I know that sounds a little off-putting at first, perhaps. We use every part of the animal in these parts. But when reduced down, when cooked, and when spices and things are added, it's unctuous, it's velvety, it's fantastic. I think you're really going to like it. And he has 4 bowls of this sort of stew with pieces of meat floating in it.
It sounds delicious. I'm happy I'm able to taste and try this local cuisine.
Bon appetit. And he goes back to behind the bar. Let's take a 5-minute break. So Bartholomew leaves 4 bowls of this blood and bone broth, soup, stew, concoction. And and then leaves you to it and goes back to the bar. Unless you need something else with him.
I think Tris was about to say, friends, this is a nice place and all, but I might have heard some interesting information in back back home, that there might be a little bit more to this place than we have seen so far. Some goings on in the basement of some unsavory sort. I might be interested in finding out a bit more about it tonight. Just so you know.
Well, that
Before-
is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Before we finish our primary task, perhaps on the way back would be more appropriate.
You're right. Well, just a quick look, maybe.
Vanek chuckles. He's just shoveling food into his face.
The broth is very delicious, by the way.
I mean, I find it very interesting. What sorts of rumors have you heard about these goings on?
You know how these things go. One person tells you they're smugglers. The next one tries to put up a little bit more on your plate. Some tales about criminals, or even some religious, specialties. I just would like to know, apart from cooking this extravagant broth, what else Bartolome is up to around here. It must get boring.
It is certainly intriguing to know that such a unique place has potentially even more than meets the eye. If you would like to take a look this evening, I would go with you.
I was just thinking I should let you know, so if there is anything that will lead to us having to leave in a hurry, the two of you should be ready.
Well, if you give me a pretense,
makes sense.
I'd be happy to drag Bartholomew away from the inn for a bit. I'm at a loss as to what he and I might converse about, since he seems very preoccupied with his status, and I could care less.
Maybe tell him that you've seen that bird around somewhere.
Ugh.
He was not too fond of it, it seems. No, but yes, maybe that would be a good idea. Even though I was thinking about taking a look quite deep into the night.
All right. Well, we don't know where he sleeps. He may sleep down there, so
True.
if I can, I'll see what I can think of.
So we can fast forward to later at night if we want. Certainly, there are no more guests in the tavern. The bard is actually there, sleeping in a chair by the fire. The fire is dying down. The embers are still hot, but it's not a roaring fire anymore. The Bartholomew has a room upstairs, so he's not downstairs at the outset. And yeah, one thing is that Bartholomew locks the door at night. And so if you had to make a quick getaway, you might have to go through a window or something, right? But yeah, the bar is untended. You see the hatch. All that stuff is there. As it's fairly empty as far as you can tell.
I think if basically, so it's basically us and the bard, and Bartholomew is upstairs.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be that one of the two of you stays somewhere next to the bard. So if there's any real trouble, they can just hit him over the head with whatever is around. And the other person stays next to the stairs to see whether Bartholomew comes down. And then Tris would just try to open that hatch.
Yeah, we could have one person in place to distract the bard if the bard wakes up,
Sure.
and one person in place to distract Bartholomew if Bartholomew wakes up.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think Tris
so.
for now really just wants to take a look inside the basement, just like see if there's anything visible down there. I don't know, like smuggled goods, a pentagram, I don't know, something.
There's so you said Bartholomew locks the door. You mean to the main inn? The main door?
Yes, yeah, he locks it. Yeah.
So that means theoretically we can't get out to the privy at night.
That's a good point.
So my guess is that we either have chamber pots or something.
You probably got something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'd have to. I think it would be perfectly reasonable for me to be carrying that down the stairs as a distraction if I need to. So I will stay at the top of the stairs while you guys investigate the hatch. And if it turns out that I can hear you, I will definitely walk down the stairs and make a ruckus.
Yes. Okay.
I love all that. So the first problem, the hatch is locked. There's a lock on a little sort of D-ring connector thing. You can spend some time particularly if you have a set of tools or a skill to be appropriate. Vanek actually has dismantling, which would be great.
But I'm at the top of the stairs. Someone will have to tell me.
Yeah. Otherwise, a piece of relevant equipment would be fine too.
Yeah, I think this is the moment where I do have to basically find a couple of lockpicks in my backpack.
Very good. So you can be working on that. And so it'll take a minute, but as long as no one's stirred, you have plenty of time to do it. The bard's out cold. As far as you know, Bartholomew is, and there's no one else around. And we already know there's no cats or anything like that, or dogs, because that would not be allowed. And so you're working on it. Back at the top of the stairs, Vanek, you start to hear some noises coming from the other side of the door of Bartholomew's room. It's a sort of like a mumbling at first, like he's speaking in his sleep or something. What do you do?
Nothing. I'm on edge now. It's like I've picked the wrong place to be already.
The words start to become a little more clear. It's possible that Bartholomew sleepwalks because you hear him get out of bed, but he doesn't go for the door. He sounds like he's just walking back and forth in his room. And you hear him say, "Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord, I hear you, my lord. Speak to me. Speak to me. I am your vessel. Yes, I am your vessel. I shall do it. I shall collect it. The blood. The blood. Oh, the blood. Yes.
All right, I'm done with this. Vanek sets the chamber pot outside Bartholomew's door. So if he happens to sleepwalk out, that's what he's stepping in or on.
When you kneel down, there's a keyhole. You could take a glimpse if you want to make a hunt roll. So I'll give you a hunt roll for it, especially. Get you a token.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm supposed to say yes here.
You don't have to. Just putting the option on the table for you.
All right. I don't think I have anything relevant. Lairs doesn't seem useful here. I'm not really doing anything with the lair. So hunt one.
Sure.
There's it. Wow. That went the other way.
At least you didn't have any tokens.
I had one.
You had one, yeah. It's gone now. You're setting down the chamber pot. As you're setting down the chamber pot, perhaps a little slowly because you are unnerved or enthralled or worse, you hear Bartholomew say, Take my blood. Take mine. Take my blood, my lord. I give it to you. I offer it to you freely. As you kneel down, you look into the keyhole and you see Bartholomew floating 2 feet off the ground, his arms spread wide at his sides, and his head flung back, his mouth agape, and rivulets of blood flying up from his tear ducts and ears and mouth up to something you can't quite see from the keyhole. What do you do? Did you catch that, Merwin?
Sorry. I was on mute.
Okay.
So I'm freaking out at this point, and I set the.
We'll cut away.
Oh, damn it!
Back at the hatch, using your lock picks and with enough time, you're able to get the lock off. No problem, Triss. What do you do?
Open the the hatch and take a look what I can see down there. Maybe grab a candle if there's one. I mean, we established that there are candles are in these candle holders.
Yeah.
So they're easy to pick up. They're not kind of stuck to the table. So I just pick one off the counter, I guess, and try to get some light down there to see what is down there.
Take a hunt roll with 2 dice since you're using the candle.
All right. Continues to go well.
What was the result? Hey, 6 light.
6,
good.
Yeah.
Take your token. You see the distinct red glint of a pool of blood on the floor, like just right there at the bottom of this. There's like a ladder that goes down and you can just see it down there. No attempt to hide it or clean it whatsoever. Cutting back over to, cutting over to Nima. The bard is there. And at a certain point, you notice that the bard's head has lolled over to the side and is facing you. And then the eyes quite suddenly open. And they are perfectly blood red orbs in the sockets. And the bard says, Who are you? Why are you asking questions?
I'm looking for someone.
Have you found them?
I've found their trail. That is sometimes all we can find.
Well, happy hunting then, friend.
Who are you?
An interested party. And then the eyes close and the head rolls back and the bard just goes back to snoring.
Nothing weird going on at this end. Has Triss gone down into the basement at this point yet?
Not yet. I think Triss is going to I think Triss is going to take a look and hopefully find some interesting treasure down there, spending 2 hunt tokens.
Yeah, you can spend your tokens. You have to get a bit of an angle on the situation to kind of see down there, and certainly candlelight's not as good as torchlight, but you're getting a good glimpse. And what you see down there is, take a look at my thing. Oh, you see along one wall, very close to the ladder, there are a number of portraits that have been just like stacked. Get a few of those. Those are going to be worth something. You can climb down there and grab a couple of the portraits. It'll equal 2 gold total if you wish.
Yeah, I think that's what Triss is going to do. But really not, I think... I think he will try to take these and then get up and talk with his friends whether or not we should put an end to this weirdness here.
I mean, you can just climbing down the ladders, grabbing the paintings, and coming back up.
I think that's what I'm doing for now.
Okay, very good. We'll say you didn't see much else when you went down there. Okay, so cutting back to Vanek. Vanek, as described, Bartholomew is floating in the air and blood is flying out of his orifices up to something you can't quite see from the peephole. What do you do?
I set down my chamber pot and I'm moving very quickly toward, I think I'll reconsider. I'm moving straight toward the stairs to collect my companions. I'll come back up for my stuff.
Fair enough. And it sounds like Triss was doing the same thing, and you're nearby, Nima, so you can see them getting together pretty easily. Let's just have
I think I would see as soon as I see Triss exit out of the basement, I would leave the bard to his bloody dreams and go back upstairs.
I say, we really, really need to go. I'm not liking it here anymore.
Yes, either we go or we get involved, whatever that will lead to. But it looks like you have a clear preference, Vanek, and we have someone to find still. So I think we might see whether we come back here. I think we've found a bit. We found our trail.
Yeah, the innkeeper is in his bedroom, floating in the air with blood being drained out of him. So I think I'm done here. Very done.
That is interesting.
And that's not the word I would use, and I guarantee you I'm not asleep.
The bard awoke briefly, and his eyes were filled with blood.
Yes, well...
There is a pool of blood in the basement as well, so this all fits together.
It would certainly seem...
We don't have to investigate it now, friends. We can get away, I think, and come back here at a later point if that's what we desire. But let's go and offer Lady Holston the pleasure of our company.
A much better choice, hopefully.
Are you sure by what we've heard about her? She might be quite mad, but I think we will find out in time.
Well, in time. I think I assume some of this conversation is happening while we're packing our bags and whatnot.
Yeah. Do you think Triss will be able to pick the lock of the entrance door as well for us to leave through the?
Yeah, getting out's not going to be a problem. You climb out the window if nothing else.
Okay.
And are we paid up? Because I don't want him to think that we don't.
Sure. You're indeed paid up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we are ready to go then, at least for Triss' side.
Yeah, people call others mad for all sorts of reasons. She may simply be distraught and forlorn and be called mad as a result. So we won't know until we see her.
Heading out. Do you have horses or are you on foot?
I think we were on foot. We could steal some horses, but
no, I'm good with walking, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
If you walk, but by the time you arrive, it'll be dawn.
Okay.
So, but yeah, based off the simple directions you were given from the bard, you should be able to reach Lady Holston's manor. It's called Holston Hall by dawn. You're probably very weary at this point because none of you really slept. So, and you also have seen some shocking things this night. But yeah, you did have a relaxing day though before all that. So I guess that's, there's something to be said for that. But Holston Hall, let me give you a link. This link is a simple map of Holston Hall. Little floor plan. I'm going to check that out real quick. And you can basically approach from one of several different ways. You can kind of approach from the, so essentially that it's a one-story house, but with sort of like tall arched, ceilings, with just one floor. But it's a little bit like, it's a little bit on like tiers because it's got like kind of like a little tiered kind of like landscaping, kind of around it. So it's kind of built on this hill, right? And it's sort of built to sort of be in the shape of the hill a little bit. So you can kind of approach from the left, which is where we'll say the west. You can approach from the gardens on the east, or you can just walk right up to the front door. The front door is kind of this southern portion there. You can scope the place out if you wish before you walk right up. You can handle it however you want, but you do see it. From a distance, it seems reasonably well kept. It's a beautiful home. And there are, yeah, like I said, there's manicured gardens on the west and the east side. It sort of sits on this little promontory, and yeah, so we'll just go around the table and we'll just have the scene. What are you all doing right now? What are you going to do?
I'll ask whether anyone else wants to rest for a bit before we actually present ourselves, because showing up at dawn means we've traveled through the night, which might seem a little weird. So if we wait a little longer.
Yeah, it may not be a bad idea to kind of circle the grounds a little bit, get a feel for the full scope of the property, and then perhaps rest
under
for
a
a short
tree.
time.
Yes.
I think with the invitation, the plan should be to just approach the front door. We have reason to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Indeed.
maybe wait for until like 10 in the morning or something, and then.
Yeah, if you don't want to wait till, if you want to go right up at dawn, you can wait till like the early morning or even late morning if you want it, and then make your approach. What are you doing in the meantime?
I think Tris is really just going to sit down under a tree, kind of lean his back against, and shut his eyes for a bit.
Catch some sleep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good to me. What about you, Vanek?
Same here. Tired.
Nima?
And
Yeah, I would like to at least kind of try and are like the surroundings, is it like hills, woods?
So the immediate area, like it's mostly woods, right? But once you get within about, I don't know, I'd say like within a quarter mile of the house, maybe an eighth of a mile of the house, it's pretty cleared and you have a good view of everything. The house is up on a hill, so you can't quite see everything without going up the hill, but you can see a lot.
Okay, yeah, I think Nemo would want to kind of just take a walk, like in the like very edge of the woods, so I'm not like blatantly out in the open, and just kind of take a walk around the clearing to kind of get a full view of the house and just make sure there's not anything strange, particularly after the stories of what happened last night. Just kind of get a quick lay of the land.
Absolutely. Make a hunt roll.
Let me see. I might grab a piece of equipment that feels, because I don't think any of my skills really help here. Guess there isn't really any additional backpack equipment in this situation either. All right, so hunt 1. All right, it's not good, but not bad.
You encounter something terrible. There's no token, so
it's not a 1.
It ain't great. It's not a 1 though. You're right.
It's not the worst.
It's not bad. The worst. It's true. You are. I think the first thing you'll notice, especially in these early hours of the day, you will see an old man who is dressed in like a butler or servant's kind of livery, but with an apron and gloves, very slowly doddering around in the gardens, tending the gardens, just keeping up everything as best he's, sort of able. That's all happening. You'll occasionally see a woman, another servant most likely, kind of come out to where the old man is, and they're chatting about something. You can't quite make it out. But really, he's doing all the talking. She doesn't really seem to be saying much at all, but he's perhaps giving her instructions of some sort, and she goes back into the house. And that's all good. It is a fairly sleepy, quiet manor house. There don't appear to be any other servants, at least none that work outside. No sign of Lady Holston as you're sort of roaming and looking around. But you will find, as you are walking along the tree line, you will run into, on occasion, a game animal, deer, a boar, that has been split open very intentionally, splayed open, with its seemingly hollowed out of its organs. You'll see this 3 different times in the tree line nearby, like we're kind of very close to the tree line. What do you do?
I think that I would probably, maybe against my better judgment, try to kind of investigate the bodies and see, like, to Blaine, that obviously sounds like ritual sacrifice. But I think Nima maybe would need to take a little bit of a closer look.
And you used to be a farmer too, right?
Yeah.
You have a surgery skill. So these, I'll give you a hunt roll, 2 tokens.
That's better.
Take your token, you get a 6, and I'll tell you that it's not all the organs have been removed. Only the heart has been removed from each animal.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, you've gotten some rest, Triss and Vanek. It is probably, it's kind of getting to be late in the morning, 9, 10 o'clock, somewhere around there. Maybe time to make your move. What are we doing here?
Yeah, stretch. If all 3 of us are here, then head on. I say we head on down, if no objections.
Yeah, I think that I would inform you of the odd animals with their hearts missing that I found. But also we already knew that there was a tinge of madness about this place. So between the inn and that information, I don't know if that's terribly surprising to us.
Only if whatever it is has made it to the lady's residence. Just the hearts are missing?
Sounds like a ritualistic thing to me.
But the beasts have not descended on the carcasses or anything? They're just there?
They are.
Very
I don't.
strange.
How did I notice how fresh they were, Jason?
Fairly fresh, yeah.
So I mean, it could be just that the animals haven't gotten to them yet, but
All right. Okay.
it is certainly strange.
All right.
The front door, as you approach, there's like on the map there, you'll see like 2 little circles. Those are like 2 big columns. I actually asked Zachary about that because I wasn't sure what the circles were. There are 2 big columns that are sort of, supporting this like little portico area, or like a little, porch type area. And then there's a great big set of double doors and a large door knocker or a bell, bell pull thing there as well. What do you do?
I think Nima is still holding on to the invitation, so she would kind of take the lead and stand up front and use the knocker to try and grab someone's attention.
There's a pleasingly loud, echoey clunk, 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 clunk ringing out behind the other side of the door. And after a few moments, the door opens, and standing in front of you is she's a plump, kind of short, plump woman. She's dressed like a maid. She has like a kind of servants like kind of shift on, apron, that kind of thing. Older, and she looks at you all and she says, "Yes."
Yes, hello. I am I'm a sister at a monastery and have been on travel, and I came across something that I believe belongs to the lady here, and we have come to return it.
Yes, yes. Do you show it to her?
Yeah, I think I would show it to her, but not hand it over.
She looks at it, she says, "Oh, yes, yes, yes." And she turns and like sweeps her hand to invite you in.
I will follow her inside.
Yes.
You all go inside, and actually, this just opens up to a sort of inner courtyard, right? It's basically like kind of a walled like patio area, and in the center of it, this courtyard is exposed to the sky, is a marble sculpture of a very beautiful woman playing the viola. Knowing what you know about Lady Holston, you can assume this is a statue of Lady Holston. It's a sort of central feature. It's very beautifully maintained. The plants are clearly watered. The statue clearly gets gets maintained. It's very clean and beautiful. And as on the map, you'll see that there are columns all around, and you can kind of like walk to various other parts of the house just from here. You can go over to the west wing of the house or the east wing of the house. This courtyard connects up to the gardens immediately. And then beyond the courtyard, there is another little sort of, kind of portal area. And then there's a door that probably goes into the actual like interior of the home. There are a few other doors as well, smaller, less grand. You can see them all there on the map. She takes you inside, and there's like a bench next to the statue, and she like points to the bench and goes, "Yes."
I will give like a small bow and say yes, and then sit down on the bench.
"Yes, yes."
Triss also sits down.
Yes, yes, yes.
Vanek just shakes his head and sits down. It's like,
yes,
okay.
yes. And she goes off, presumably to get someone.
Okay.
You got a moment here. What are you going to do?
Stand up.
She doesn't get in a hurry, by the way. She doesn't get in a hurry. You're waiting there for a long time. No one comes to collect you.
I think Triss will just idly sit around for a few minutes, kind of maybe take out the silver dagger again, play around, and then just stand up and start looking around a bit.
Yeah, where do you
see
start?
whether it's I think basically I think if we are in that middle part with the courtyard, then probably to that garden at the back.
Okay, so to be clear, you're going to the on the east or the west side. The gardens are like this sort of
On
white space.
yeah. I think on the west side.
Indeed. So you have a set goal. There is a set goal for the entire, basically for like the grounds outside of the house. Okay, and this courtyard is technically part of that because it's exposed to the sky. The set goal here is find Falgalatrix.
Mm-hmm.
But you're moving over to which side again?
To the western gardens
Hmm.
or grounds.
You go to the western grounds. It is like manicured garden space. There's a large tree that sort of dominates the scene, and there's actually like a detached sort of building over here as well. You see what appears to be like as you approach, there's like a little kind of open air space, which looking into it past the columns appears to be like a little performance space, like a little concert, like a little concert space, the way it's shaped, and like there's little bench seats and things. And then there's like a little building kind of attached to that as well. It's unclear what that building is, but there are 2 doors going into it, apparently. There's a set goal here as well, by the way. This sort of like western detached portion of the estate. This set goal learn how to please the blood god. Just to keep us all in the right headspace here. What are you doing in the meantime, Vanek?
So I've made a little icon for myself on the map just so I can get situated because my visualization skills are terrible. So if I'm not mistaken, we came in through the front doors over here. Do I have that right? Where I put my little V?
Yes, exactly right.
Okay. And so
and you're currently waiting in this sort of central location. Now it's your version of the map, it didn't transfer over, but in the center there's like a little circle where the statue is. The statue.
Oh, over here. So we're over in that area.
You're in that area, yes.
Okay. And Triss has gone off to
the west side, yeah, where the tree is over there.
Yeah. Okay. And so that initial part with all the grid is the set goal for Falgalatrix?
All of the outside is okay. Falgalatrix. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm sure that there's some sort of decorum to be had here about not wandering through your host's house uninvited. So Vanek really doesn't want to go very far, but he's both bored and fidgety. So is this a door here or a doorway?
Those are 2 columns that just go into this next sort of space.
Well, what's down there? I'll go ahead and take a look down here.
If you head over toward the eastern, this is kind of heading towards the eastern side gardens. That big circle there is actually like a large steaming tub of hot water. And there is a woman submerged in the water up to her shoulders.
Oh dear.
And she says, "Well, this is certainly a very scandalous position you found me in. If someone could see us right now, oh, the things they would say."
I put a hand over my eyes and say, absolutely no one can see us. I'm begging your forgiveness. Are you
She's
the
like,
lady of the...
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I say, begging your forgiveness. Are you the lady of the house?
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not, but maybe I am.
We have a note for the lady of the house, a letter.
A letter from where?
The king's court. If it
The court.
please. Yes.
Well, what does it say? Hand it over quickly, man, quickly.
You are. I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm Lady Holston. Hand it over.
I call back. I look. I right away. Right
You don't
away.
have it, right?
Right. I say right away, my lady, and I run back to the main thing, and I call out for Nima.
Well, so let's cut over to Nima. Nima, what were you doing during this time?
I was thinking I like this as a time for me to spend a token to gain a treasure.
Okay.
This seems like an interesting place for
Yeah,
a
of course.
treasure.
You will. You're spending it there in the courtyard, the little inner courtyard.
Yeah.
Good. There is in the inner courtyard a small, pocketable, very, very beautiful porcelain vase worth 1 gold.
Excellent. And so I imagine I kind of find that, like, I look around to make sure that no one is there to see, and then very quickly pocket it, and then I imagine that's probably about when Vanek,
Indeed,
because he didn't go terribly far before running into the lady. So I would return, I think, with him.
The woman in the bath, Lady Holston, allegedly, she says, "Oh, now there are 2 of you. My goodness, can't a woman get any privacy around here?"
I still have my hand over my eyes.
So, do you have my letter from the king?
I do. Does this woman look of an age that
Yeah,
it
she's
looks
a
like
little older. Yeah. She's probably like in her 50s or 60s or something.
Okay, I have a feel, unless there's multiple.
She's wearing a silk turban wrap around her head, and she's submerged in the water. She's not a crone. She's clearly like beautiful, and probably when she was younger, extremely beautiful, right?
So I feel like that would be enough for Nima to assume that this is in fact.
She snatches it from your hand.
Lady Holston, I would hand
the
it to
moment
her.
you get close enough to her, and she says, "Can this be? After all these years, they want me back at court." Yes, I think the time is right. I really, really do. Did he send you, the 2 of you, to deliver this to me? I mean, no offense, but you don't look like you're from the court.
He did not, and he sent us actually to find. And now I need to look at my notes because it's been long enough. Since Quoton.
Do you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sent us to find, or the court sent us to find Quoton. And in our travels, we came across that letter.
Oh, Quoton. Yes, I remember him well. Royal court wizard. The less we say about him, the better. But let's put him out of our minds. I have been requested by the king to come back to court. How fantastic. Mildred, my towel. And the maid comes around the corner and she has a towel. And she says, yes. And the woman gets out and she's like being wrapped in a robe and everything. And she says, how magnificent, how magnificent. We must celebrate. Yes, we have to celebrate. A dinner. No, not a dinner. A party. And you are all invited. Well, the two of you at least, not you, Mildred. No.
We have another companion as well, who is just over admiring the gardens.
Ah, the more the merrier. Fantastic, fantastic. Well, you have to stay for the party, and I'll tell I already forgot his name. I'll tell Walter to make up a room for you, in case things get a little carried away tonight and you're not able to walk out on your own two legs. I threw legendary parties when I worked at the court. She sort of glides off into the house, leaving you out there in the courtyard.
I look at Vanek and say, I have a feeling Triss will be quite excited by this news.
Probably. I don't think she realizes that she would never have gotten that invitation if it wasn't for us. We should probably make that clear during dinner conversation if we want to gain more favor.
I think that is a good idea. Hopefully we can find, while they prepare for the party, find some information on if Quotan ever made it here.
Well, she's implied that she had encountered him.
Yes, and the letter that she sent to the inn sounded like she was quite happy to see him.
That is true.
I cut over Triss.
Well, we should see what Triss is doing.
I'm going to cut over Triss. I think while you are having this conversation with Lady Holston, Triss was in the West Gardens. Triss, what were you doing?
Yes. Looking around the gardens first, if I can find anything interesting there. And I think if not,
just looking.
I think, yeah, basically walking out there, noticing this kind of side building, making a mental note of later, maybe looking at that, and then maybe not really looking too much at the tree for now. I mean, just looking, seeing, okay, this is seems if it is anyway unusual, of course, Triss would take a closer look, but then maybe just kind of looking up the building, seeing, if there are any windows or what is going on, if there's any shadows in windows or anything, kind of strolling around.
Yeah, take a huddle. Just generally keeping an eye out for unusual things.
Yes. That's a 5.
You get a token, but you encounter something terrible. Take your token. The gardens are very well kept, despite the fact that, as reported by Nima, the butler is very, very slow and doddering. He does manage to keep things up pretty well. There are rows of azalea, hydrangea, maybe even something as exotic as a tulip. And you look up in the tree, and something stands out in the tree as something that probably wouldn't be there based off how nice everything else looks. But high up in the branches, and I mean quite high, you see the most ratty bird's nest up in the branches. It is made from twigs and things, of course, but also it looks like this bird scavenged whatever it could, bits of bone, string, some sort of wispy gossamer-like stuff. There's just a big nest up there. And as you are stepping around in the grounds, your boot steps on something with a distinct squish. What do you do?
Take a look.
It's a heart.
What size?
Bigger.
Roughly. Bigger,
yeah.
So
animal size. Yeah, not human. Yeah.
I think Nima told us. Was it Nima? I think so.
She did tell you about the
about,
animals.
the
Yeah.
animals. So I think Triz does not really want to get all bloody, so he will leave the heart there. Is it under the tree? Like, is that maybe something that the bird could be eating, or kind of?
No, I don't think it's. No, I don't think you can make that connection necessarily. It wasn't directly under. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Triss will leave the heart on the ground. Just take notice that it's there. Look around if there are any others. Now that there's
None of the
one,
clans.
but
No.
not now. I mean, we are looking for birds, so I think it's basically. I guess the nest is kind of it's big, and you're not able to see whether there's anything inside without getting close.
You'd have to climb
right?
up there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what Triss will be doing.
Actually. So you climb the tree. I think as you start to climb the tree, that's when the other two find you, right?
Yeah.
So let's just have the scene with Triss getting ready to climb a tree. Or let's take like a 2-minute break. We'll come back, do a couple more scenes, then call it a session. Let's just take like 2.
Okay.
So Vanek and Nima, when you find Triss is just getting ready to climb the tree.
We have news that I think you'll enjoy, Triss. There's to be a party tonight.
I was just there. Well, that is good news indeed. Did you meet the lady of the house?
Yes. And what are you up to here?
There seems to be a bird's nest up there. I think. And weren't we looking for a bird?
Well, Quoton did have a bird.
Yes, it is worth. I don't know.
I mean, it is a kind of unusual thing to do, to climb your host's trees in their gardens, but
right around this time, Mildred, the maid, is heading toward you, and she says, no. And she goes over to the tree, and she's like, no. And she points to the house, like, yes.
Well, they certainly didn't hire Mildred for her language skills. I walk toward the house.
I think Triss will linger and look up to the tree and say, has this been there for a while?
And she says, no.
I think Nima will also head back towards the house, but maybe try to get Mildred to like come with us and distract her just enough for Triss to
very good.
See about getting up in the tree or dislodging the nest somehow quickly.
I like that. I don't think there's any like immediate fundamental danger in this, so I'm not going to make you do the risk roll. Just tell me how you're keeping her distracted.
I think that maybe. So I think Nima's going to like pretend she's way more interested in the planning of this party than she actually is, and start to ask like all of these questions, kind of pointing in directions away from the tree about like where things might get set up and who's coming to the party, and
every answer is either no, yes. And if you ask her a question that's a yes, that can't be answered yes or no, she'll say,
Well, I'll try to stick to yes/no questions for my own purpose then, but I'm focused more on, are you taking us now to where we can freshen up for this party and things like that?
Yes, yes, yes,
Great. Well, why
yes.
don't you lead the way? Well, we're right with you. Is there going to be stuff for us to wear? That kind of thing. Just keep her busy and distracted.
Yeah, I think it's enough. I mean, especially if Triss goes a little bit of the ways and then just breaks off, I think it'll be fine. The two of you that don't break off, though, she leads you into the house, past that door that kind of goes up to that sort of upper central area where there's a big circle there. See that? And this is actually kind of like it's another like kind of grand courtyard, but it's a sort of hall, I suppose. It's inside the building though, and it is a beautiful fountain. There is it's just like a beautiful like kind of fountain in the center there, with water kind of flowing beautifully out of it. The fountain is essentially like a picture. It's a depiction of Lady Holston, kind of like in the form of like a goddess. Like this would be a very traditional kind of pose, like a goddess of beauty, and the water is sort of like, you know, kind of swirling around, right? And there are a couple of like around it, there are a few like little statues with showing various like, you know, kind of wood nymphs and things like that, right? And the old man, the butler, Walter, he putters up to you both, or all three of you, and he says, not to you, Triss, but to Vanek and Mildred and Nima. And he says, Mildred, don't you have a meal to see to? And she looks at him and she has this like exasperated look on her face. And she says, no. He's like, Mildred, don't worry. There's plenty of time to catch something to put on the dinner table. I'm sure these healthy, hale young gentlemen would be more than happy to go out and find us something. Yes. And Mildred walks off towards the little doorway there to the left. Kind of, that's sort of hallway that connects up to other parts of the house. Walter says, it's going to take me some time to get your room ready. The lady says that you might be staying the night, especially if the party is a good one, and it is always a good one, though I must confess we have not had one in some time. In the meantime, you are welcome to relax in the library, or in the study, or in the solarium. Lady Holston may be by at some point to chat and socialize, and I will get your room ready. If you would be so inclined as to go into the woods and catch us something for dinner, that would be most appreciated.
I think we could handle that. Is there anything that the lady prefers?
Yes, there is. But I'm sure whatever you bring back will be just fine.
All right, then.
So what do the two of you do?
I assume he's pointed out the library, the solarium. And
yes, those are kind of, the library is, let me just find a little marker here, marker thing. That's the library where I put that line. And then the study is like right here is a study, the little behind that door. And the solarium is up here at the top.
Okay.
I'm going to cut back over to Triss. So Triss, we've already established climbing the tree is no trouble for you. You get up to the top of the tree and you see a falcon hunkered down inside the nest so as not to be seen. Its wings spread out. It's laying almost on its belly inside the nest. What do you do?
I think I think Triss is just gonna try to grab the bird.
You make a go of it, and the bird says, "Stop, stop, 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 stop. Back off."
Yes. That's what Triss says.
You seem, well, not particularly bothered by the fact that I can talk.
I've expected weirdness from this place after what I've seen so far.
I should imagine so. This place is completely out of order.
Have you come from the Sunset Crossroad Inn?
Oh, yes, yes, that is a place I have been fairly recently. I am in service to a wizard who I believe is now dead. I can no longer feel him, so I assume he's dead. That's usually how these things work. That's how it was explained to me at one point anyway. And I cannot leave until his body is properly buried. It's a magic thing.
This is very bad indeed. We are actually looking for you. Well, the wizard, but apparently that
thank you very
means
much.
also you.
Oh, glad to hear I'm second banana in this little arrangement. Yes, well, he's dead. Sorry to break it to you.
You might not possibly know who is responsible.
Oh, yes. Almost certainly Lady Holston.
I see. No worries, then we will
you should just
try
leave.
To figure out
just go. Truly, just leave. There's nothing here. People come by all the time and I warn them away, and I'm going to warn you away as well. I have to stay here because, well, I can't leave magic and all that. You are not bound in any such way, and so I suggest you leave. There are very strange things going on, especially in that building. He points to the detached building. Very, very strange things indeed. This place is not good.
I gather as much. I think my companions and I will. So, in order for you to be able to leave from here, the wizard would have to be buried?
Well, it's just a theory, if I'm being perfectly honest. I always thought that, well, I just never thought that the old guy would croak this early. We didn't really make a lot of plans or discussions were had, not many, about what should happen in the event that he died before me. It's an arrangement. It's an arrangement, and I am paying a cosmological price for it.
I think, yes. Well, I think we will. I will talk to my companions, and we will see what we can do. Maybe to even help you. But thank you for your warnings, and I'll be back, I think.
Well, wonderful. I shall wait here.
I think Tris will climb down and then just shake his head and say, Did I just dream this? No, it must have happened. I'd better talk to the others and walk towards the house.
Indeed. Inside the house, I shall go ahead and reveal the set goal for the east wing of the house, which is where you're currently at. The east wing set goal is enjoy a meal with Lady Holston. Easy.
Uh-huh.
The set goal with finding Val Galatrix is satisfied. So, you're in the library or the study? Or the solarium, for that matter.
I don't think Nima is terribly interested in any of those things, so I think that she would probably just be wherever Vanek is.
Vanek is not, well, if we need food for tonight's meal and we're the ones expected to get it, he kind of feels like that needs to be the first order of business, and then you can come back and relax in one of these rooms, which he definitely wants to. But he looks over to Nima as soon as Walter leaves, and he goes, "Didn't Tris say there were some fresh animal carcasses just lying around waiting for us?"
Well, I had found a few as I explored the grounds.
Oh yeah, that was you. So why don't we just go pick those up if they're still fresh?
Quick question, where is this conversation happening?
After Walter leaves, it's in the fountain area.
Back in that sort of central area there. Okay, great.
I mean, that would be the easy way, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we could. I don't know if that would telegraph anything that they don't want us to know, but
I mean, if
I won't hear of my guests going out to catch food for my party. Lady Holston is swanning through the central area. She is dressed now in a beautiful long red velvet gown with a sort of tall collar of ostrich feathers around her neck. And she says, and she still has a turban on her head, "How absolutely ridiculous. Who ever heard of a guest having to go out and catch their own food? I mean, my goodness, what sort of place are we running here? Not that kind of place. Don't worry about Mildred and Walter. We have plenty to eat. Plenty to eat. I am happy to share with you my bounty, and you're going to enjoy it. We're all going to enjoy it. We're all going to have a marvelous time." She looks at the statue. Wasn't I beautiful then? My gosh. I mean, just look. I mean, I know it's just a statue. Can't trust me. It certainly doesn't capture the real thing back in the day, but that's pretty close. And I was quite a looker.
it is a very impressive statue.
Vanek is still stammering in her presence because, really, but he's You are still stunning, my lady. He's not even looking at the fountain.
Thank you. That's what I always say. I still got it. And you know what? I can't wait to go back to the court and show them I've still got it.
Well, I mean, certainly we would be honored to partake of your bounty, but we would also be fine going out. And I know Walter didn't tell us what, but he said that you have
I won't
particularly
give it.
favorite game animal we could find for
We
you.
have all the food we need here, my dear. I didn't catch your name, sorry.
Oh, I'm Nima.
Nima. Nima. What a fine name, Nima. No sobriquets, no titles attached to that. Lady Nima, Nima the Bold. Nima.
They in the monastery they call me Nima the Bloodletter.
Nima the Bloodletter. What a fantastic name. What was your name again? To you, Vanek.
Sorry, my lady. Vanek.
Vanek, Sir Vanek. Vanek the downtrodden.
Well, nothing's. No, I don't. No one has ever bothered to give me a
Vanek the tongue-tied.
Fair enough, my lady.
And you look familiar to Triss.
Yeah, Triss came in, I guess, and lady, it's good to meet you. My name is Triss. Just Triss.
Just Triss.
And I'm very much looking forward to your party.
Well,
I've heard great
Triss.
skills about great things about your great stories of the parties of the festivities at the court that you were responsible for.
Well, yes, of course you would have. I mean, my parties were legendary. And she's sort of like circling around you. She says, I have something of an eye for people, just Triss. And I think there's something you're not, well, being completely honest about. I saw the way you walked in here. There was a certain elan, a certain grace to it. I can tell you are trained as a dancer, perhaps.
You're
Most
quite
people
right.
clump around on great, big, horrible, ugly hooves. She looks over.
Vanek looks down at his feet.
But you have an elegance to you, like me. We share that.
You're quite right, my lady, and it will be my pleasure to offer a dance tonight.
Splendid. I shall pull out the viola, and you shall give us a little performance. I think that would be wonderful.
Most certainly.
Wonderful. Oh, I do hope we're able to get the other guests here in time. I know it's probably pretty last minute, but I know when I put out the call, people will respond. My time is here again. That letter from the king surely proves it. Oh, I have so many stories to tell you all tonight. It's going to be wonderful. And don't you spare another thought for going out and hunting food, Nima the Bloodletter. We have plenty to eat here. Now, I need to go make my preparations. And she swans off in the southerly direction. Probably her rooms are somewhere on in the east wing, that direction.
I think Triss will quickly try to catch up the other two about the situation, saying, I climbed up to the nest and I did find our bird, I think. It was talking, if you can believe it. At least that's what I feel I've heard. It's all a little strange out here, but it warned me of the lady, and it seemed to think that its master, the wizard, is dead.
Well, that is not good. I'm not terribly surprised to find out there's something strange going on here.
No.
Vanek says, well, we don't get the full... He looks around first to make sure no one else is there. And he says, we don't get the full payment unless we bring him back.
Well,
I don't know if the body will suffice, but hopefully it will.
just be careful, and maybe we should, while strolling around and getting ready for the party, try to find out a bit more and take stock of our surroundings to not be surprised by anything tonight.
Well, it can't be any worse than seeing that innkeeper in his state of, well, I don't know what state it was, but it was very disturbing. I think I would have preferred a talking bird.
And I think we shall get close to wrapping up the session at this point. You are perhaps led to the west wing of the house, or the east wing rather. That's where all the rooms are. It has its own set goal, but we'll talk about it next time. But as you're sort of being taken to your room, just outside what must be the master bedroom, which is the sort of largest room here, I'll put an arrow. Just outside, you can hear, I don't think even you all hear it. This is just out of character. This is just something for the audience. We hear Lady Holston. She says, "Yes, Sarku, yes, I hear you. I'm certain it's her, don't worry. Well, I tell you what, I'll have a little taste and confirm for you." I will just cut it there. Let's go to stars and wishes. Stars are things you enjoyed about the session. Wishes are things you hope to see next time. Whoever wants to go first, fire away.
Well, if we're not limited to players, I'm going to say that since this is my second play of Trophy Gold, it is really, really interesting to see how the set goals are prepped so that they are information style rewards as opposed to treasure style rewards, like they were with the Morkborg adventure. So that's really, really interesting as far as a star.
Any other stars? We can just talk freely if anybody has any other stars or whatever.
I think my big star was kind of the early in scenes. I really had fun. Like, we've gotten to see these characters interact together in stressful situations, and we've gotten to see them kind of individually relaxing. But I think it was really fun to see all three characters kind of relaxing together in a less stressful environment. I think, especially knowing that this is obviously going to go to some pretty dark places, having that kind of lighthearted introduction was really fun, and I think everyone role played really well. And the inn was just as eye rolly as it was just a really fun encounter.
Yeah, I really liked how everybody built on each other's input for this, for the inn, and also for here now. But kind of a certain atmosphere of this of bit of ridiculousness, but still this dark underpinning where it was clear there's something going on. And I think which I think came kind of naturally out of the things that we put in, and it could have been very different. I think at least that's the way I felt, and it was very different. I mean, it was closest in a way, and that's why it's also interesting, because it continues this from the first run to that moment where we pretended to be dark or death priests. So there is a kind of continuation of that tone for this, but we really built on it, and yeah, especially that last scene, which was very cinematic in the inn. I mean, which was very cinematic with Vanek up there and the floating innkeeper and the blood and the bard, which I think that was a very nice moment as well. Also from your side, Jason, I think was really nice, because I did not at all expect this for the bard to figure in this dark kind of creepy mood as well, and then that was great.
Yeah, star for the whole inn sequence. I mean, I love the whole thing. I'm enjoying every bit of it, but like, the inn sequence is not part of the adventure. That's something I came up with just as a prelude to this adventure. And so, and also the adventure does not like, the adventure like frames the Holston up differently than I am. So I'm happy how that's all going. I'm happy that the tone we were striking in the inn was pitch perfect to me, because there was like humor to it, right? Like we kept doing like, the whole like 6 out of 10 thing, or like the just making like little jokes and asides and things, the bard, singing, like the bard clearly just advertising the inn that everyone's already in, which I thought was hilarious. And so like, and then just everyone, and just the way you all kind of interacted with that, like we just had this like nice humorous thing going, which was intentional, because I kind of knew that if you like peeled back a little bit, you were going to discover like something darker, right? And so that was good, and I think we're going to have a lot of that same sort of tone at Holston Hall too, because I'm playing Lady Holston like this, like very Norma Desmond, Sunset Boulevard kind of thing, right? And so all of that, like just this sort of melodramatic, almost comedy of it, like counterbalanced by the darkness, I think is really fun. I think it's a fun space to play. So I loved all that, and stars as well for just everyone. Yeah, I really just enjoyed seeing the characters in this context. Kind of like Blaine said, last time it was like this really like heavy metal kind of thing where you're like literally saving the world, except just what you're actually doing was just delaying the end of the world, right? But you had this like kind of really intense mission, and this was just something so different in scope. Like there wasn't a pit full of 1,000 undead. There wasn't like disgusting rot priests. There was nothing like that, right? It was there wasn't Sarku. Well,
not yet.
Yeah. There was none of that, right? Like it was just very it's a smaller scope. It's like there's Bandit, there's we're traveling to an inn, there's a bandit following us, which will come up at some point. There's it's a little bit more like it's the kind of thing I enjoy, like a sort of small, like little local mystery kind of thing, so it was just fun to see those differences and to kind of see the characters in this different context. I thought that was really enjoyable. Any wishes for next time, or any more stars for that matter?
Good, please.
No, go ahead.
No, just basically echoing what was said before about interesting to see a very different style of trophy, very social role-playing kind of information for now, at least, rather than treasure hunting as such. Interesting to see, especially in the contrast to the last one.
Yeah, I know we called it out a little earlier in sort of during play, but I do want to highlight again the use of carousing as an in-play skill not related to getting drunk. So that was really nicely done.
That was
I
awesome.
thought that was good too. Yeah, I like that a lot.
I don't think I have any stars necessarily. Like I love where this has gone, and I love where it's going, or wishes. So I'm just excited to see more of what is unveiled. I personally am very excited that Sarku is back. So I can't wait to see where that takes us.
I think as far as mechanics go, I think maybe the only, I'm not sure, maybe I think the only real mechanical element that we haven't used so far is the bestiary. And that's interesting. We didn't even have that many combats as well, but yeah, I think that is an interesting element of trophy.
Yeah, the tricky thing about the
to see.
tricky thing about the bestiary in this context is because I'm running off modules. It's all stuff that has names and stuff already, so it's not like incursions that are written for trophy gold have a lot of space for that, you know. But like non-trophy gold things don't as much, and so I don't even think about it as much really. But I agree with you though. Like it's certainly a very long-term campaign aspiration, right? Like. But I think there's probably something there with Sarku, right? I mean, like Sarku is a thing that's reoccurring now, possibly, right? So I think that could be interesting. But, did you have any? Were you done? Sorry, Adrian, I kind of cut you off, but
no, that was that. I just just looking at that and finding that to be an interesting mechanic, and yeah.
My wish is so this sort of adventure that we're having right now is something of a specialty of mine. I like social encounters. I like court crawls. I like creepy mystery, religious cult mysteries, right? I intend to take this into some incredibly dark places next time. And so my wish is that you all at least, you know, I hope you engage with it, right? Like so far, none of this has been super dangerous, right? But it's still hopefully putting you on edge, even though there is no like immediate danger, right? That's kind of what I'm aiming for here. And so, and I think we'll be more of that next week, right? Like, I want to take it to some, I want to take it to some pretty dark places as far as like Lady Holston and her mania or her madness, right? So, as well as of the two servants who are equally creepy in their way. Walter, maybe not as much, but certainly Mildred. So yeah, Merwin, any wish?
I know this session was a little more social, and based on how action goes in Trophy, I can safely say I'm kind of I'm glad those are few and far between. But I don't think I have a specific wish. I do want to call out another quick star again on sort of the general design and approach of what we were doing, which was the ability to sort of give out oblique clues. Even though we had, I mean, knowing what a set goal is sort of it's kind of like a nose ring for gaming. You for an animal, you're kind of pulling the animal in that direction. So you're telling them this is what you have to do. But if you don't provide the supporting narrative in play, you can't guide your players to actually achieve that set goal except by luck. And so I really liked that opening scene with the bandits where we're able to put two and two together with, hey, why are they burying plague bodies? They should be burning them. And it's not like I popped up and said, we're supposed to get treasure. It's maybe they've buried something valuable there because we were going to go after something, whatever they had in the chaos anyway. So that was, I think, really that kind of clue giving. I need to start adopting more of it. That was a really good way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really true. I'm glad you felt that way. This is really truly Trophy Gold's great kind of innovation in space, I think. I mean, the set goal concept and just the general idea of there being like distinct in character and out of character modes of play, I think leads to a good table result. It's very much play culture that I have personally tried to cultivate for a long, long time. And I want to call out, we're almost done, but I want to call out because the way set goals work, I love, it didn't go much remarked upon, but that one set goal that is learn how to please the blood god, that set goal, there was literally nothing about a clue apart from just little tiny ephemeral things about what you would do to engage with that. But the mere existence of the set goal, me saying the words, learn how to please the blood god, has an effect on how you play, right? It sets a mood. It kind of creates a sort of mysterious expectation about what's going to happen in the rest of the session. And so I love that. I've run kind of other horror type scenarios in Trophy Gold before, and those little set goals that are like that sort of say, hey, there's a horrible thing that is going to happen maybe at some point. It just creates this nice edge. It's like when you're watching a horror movie, the characters don't know it's a horror movie, but you know it's a horror movie, and so you interpret everything that's happening on screen really differently, right? Differently than they do. I feel like this is a similar kind of thing in Trophy Gold, especially when you have set goals that are kind of basically designed to freak you out, right? And get you thinking, so and I just really love that.
When you introduced that set goal, my love of weird, creepy horror, I laughed so hard that Skype picked it up and was like, hey, you're muted. If you want people to hear what's happening, you need to unmute yourself. But the name of that set goal is so awesome.
Oh yeah. I wrote it that way. I wrote it to be oh yeah, this is a set goal. This is purely just to get people to be like, what? The blood god, what?
Yeah, and my reaction to that set goal was, let's do that last.
Yeah. Well, and what was really fun is we got to actually telegraph that set goal a little bit with Bartholomew, right? Because that didn't have to happen, right? The set goal still would have been the set goal, but it punched even more because of the Bartholomew thing, I think. So that was all really fun. Awesome. Well, I think I'm done. If there is nothing else, we shall call it a session. Let's stop.